ordinance. Any questions or amendments to the home rule ordinance?
Did you get one of these?
We have the resolution for Greater Eastside Chamber. I think Councilman Bender sent that to everyone this afternoon. Any
Oh, I
questions
see,
about
that's
that?
the regulation.
And moving on to the work session agenda, we have title issues. Yeah, exec session.
Title issue. I have your report on your
The property.
property title. We've all got one. What we did is we didn't do a search streets because that would take forever and been very expensive. But these are out parcels or pieces that were granteed. They searched for the city of Snellville. It was titled into the city. They backed into it and then checked it down. And so they were interesting. I glanced at it, I did study. If anybody wants any further detail from me, I'll be glad to provide it to the attention. But this just shows the properties that are actually titled in the name of the city.
And was this accurate with the list that had gotten before, do you know?
Probably not the same. There's probably a few extra parcels, little triangles and things that y'all probably don't know. And then I think y'all had obviously y'all had all the major pieces of the station at the city hall.
So, because I think the point of this was to find those little random houses and cemetery plots. So Chief, can you have staff get that list? I think we've had it a couple months ago and cross-reference it too. And then maybe put that list back on, the second evening of March. Is that what you're talking about? Any questions on the title?
The good thing was, I think we allocated $1,500 to do it, cost us $340, so that was a good price.
Super lean cases, is that exec session or?
Yes, that's it, yeah. Well, just you know, those cases are ones that we've had a lot of litigation on and delivered another check this week. We're actually using it for tax collection tool for us. We're one of the only ones who oppose those, and they give in very easily and send us a check in order to get us out of the way. So those super lien cases are going this way.
Discussion items, we have the update trade-in of the iPads. I think you all received an email today about the iPad 1s becoming obsolete eventually. I have put it on our radar so that if we want to start looking at that, something staff can start thinking about for the upcoming budget. If anyone else wants to give any input other than the emails that were sent today.
How many are we gonna need? We don't want one. We need 5. Hmm? Yeah. You want one? You want a new one? You want a new one? So we need 3. And do you have a price on the air? Melissa?
Yeah, I think it was in the
It was
email.
$4.99.
$4.99,
Two.
I think.
I didn't, no, that was the air deal.
Do we know if there's a trade-in value on the one?
It depends on what route you take. There's a couple different options for getting money back on it.
$4.99. The iPad Air comes in 4 versions: 16 gigabyte, 32 gigabyte, 64, and 128. 16 gigabyte is $4.99.
No,
I think they're all correct.
they were just looking at the wrong one. The air is just, it's a little thinner and a little lighter.
Yeah.
But it's the same screen size.
Yeah, it's a newer deal.
Greg just got one, it's coming, just sent it on yesterday.
And it does have the newest operating system. And Surrey works on it as well.
And 16 gig, wasn't it?
You know, I don't know that I would use a different one anymore than what I do. Perhaps the picture part of it is probably more enticing
Yeah.
if I'm at an event.
Are these government prices? Or
You don't do it special, but nobody can do it.
I just
It's
asked,
Apple,
there was
it's
some
what
kind
it
of-
is.
Government price is at $100.
For all the paperwork they have to fill out to sell it to us.
Okay. Anything else? We'll put that into consideration then for the upcoming budget.
We need 4, actually, one question. Let's do that one. Okay.
Discussion of prioritizing the SPOS project list. We talked about this for a couple of meetings. We have several different lists going on. We have the city's main list. We have the county project list that Mayor Overholtz is working on, and then we have the, 25 million, right, list. So, I don't know if y'all saw the email from Randy, we need to be working on the $25 million joint project list. Does anybody have any, thoughts or opinions on the projects that Butch had given to us?
We have a list of $25 million separate, or is it just part of that larger list?
Should have been a separate list.
It was in the agenda.
I have this one, which, the potential projects, that was in the agenda.
Yeah. Is there another besides that? No, that's
Well, there's a couple of different things floating around.
The
that
25
organized-
million is only the,
I had a good discussion at the retreat, but. I didn't have that.
I think that's the one.
yeah, just the road portion of the original list.
Head turn lanes, signals, and signals.
okay, this is that section of that list.
The potential projects, they were listed.
And the county is looking at, what can get the biggest bang for the buck, and also they're looking at, things that can get done in the next 3 years, and then sidewalk projects that they'd like us to prioritize.
If we do turn lanes, we'll have to be some property acquisition over there.
Well, the pay would be the $25 million, which I,
Yeah.
already, yeah.
And so we probably would wanna look at things that are gonna go into county areas along with city areas.
So is it that are we picking off of this list that was in the packet tonight to figure out which of these we want to do for the county request for the 25 million, or the 25 million is this list that we got at the last meeting? Which bridges only?
The list we got at the last meeting was the projects that the citizens committee that Jerry was on was recommending or working on. Bridges was the next phase that they were gonna be looking at. They had looked at the sidewalks and at the Skyline blend, and now they're gonna be looking at bridges. So we as a city, we have our transportation money that we're gonna get outright. And so this is the list that staff came up with. Obviously, our transportation portion is not gonna cover all the projects on this list that staff came up with. So in addition to our transportation, funds we're gonna get, we're also gonna have some input into those joint projects that there's 20 or 25 million that the county is doing. And so we need to come up with some priorities that we wanna push for in those joint projects. There's no guarantee we're gonna get those, but we need to come up with a list that we wanna propose to the county for those. The smaller cities are gonna take priority with that 25 million over the larger cities, since we're getting more money altogether. We still need to get some projects out of that. So I guess if we want, we'll put this back on the next work session. If we can come up with staff budget of realistically what we can do with our transportation money, and then let's see what projects are left over, and now those leftover projects, we'll prioritize those as to what we wanna go forward with the county. Is that agreeable to everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Parliamentarian.
think we need one, and I'd like to see how everybody else feels about it. Don't speak up at once.
I'm all for it, but you
Gonna wait.
got to put money in the budget for it, and you're gonna have to,
Well, I mean, my personal opinion is I think it would be advantageous for us to do a better job with how our meetings are operated. I mean, for just the sake of efficiency and, you know, staying exactly in line with the way we need to run the meeting and what needs to happen and quit, you know, kind of depending on what each of us think the interpretation of something is. But a professional that's designed to do that. And,
That was my thought.
you know, I don't think it can do anything but make us better. Because we, so I would certainly be for it.
I would be supportive of it.
You would? Okay. So I'll look around and get some quotes and we'll put it on for first read next week. Or ask them whatever come up. Okay.
Board appointment resolution, Councilman Wentz.
I spoke a little bit about this at the last meeting, but I have had the opportunity to talk to a lot of the board chairs since then, and they all seem to think that's the right way to go. It gives them a little buy-in. They're all a little bit discouraged with people that don't show up, or people that are appointed and don't give much input. I think this would be a way for people to know what they're doing before they're assigned to a board. So I'd just like everyone now to have the city attorney draw up a resolution, have a policy, so that basically when an application comes into the city, someone wants to be on a board, it goes to that board. That board vets it. It can come to council too, or wherever, but at least the board gets a copy of it. The next meeting they can talk about, they can vet it, and they can put those people, if there's no openings, put them in stacks, people that are vetted for that position, and then when the position is open, the chair can make a decision to appoint somebody. At least we'll know they're interested and that they've been vetted by that particular board.
You understand that that will be a policy, and overall the charter, the charter gives that authority to the mayor, so that's a policy, but it won't trump anything in the charter.
All I can do is say that's the way it should go. The way it goes is the way it goes.
Just make sure you understand. Next, we have the STAT contract for 2014.
Make sure you understand.
Yeah.
I asked that this be put on the agenda. I think that the STAT contract is going to be on our next agenda for action, but there were a couple of things in the STAT contract I wanted council to think about. There were 2 events, and I think that we talked to STAT last year about one of them. One was the Deep South basketball tournament and giving a donation to that. And I think that that's something that the city for a long time sponsored was part of our hotel motel tax. We haven't sponsored it for the past couple of years. The tournament has gone, I want to say downhill, but it's not as big as it used to be, and some of the criticism has been because they don't have the city support. So I'd like to see us maybe add a clause to the contract where STAT agrees, or where the city holds, I think we only gave like $500 or $1,000. It wasn't a lot of money to the tournament, where we agreed that either STAT will give that money from the hotel motel, or the city somehow will make up that money that's going to STAT.
My understanding is that had $1,000 set aside for that last year, and no one came forward to ask for it.
It was in the budget.
I know that the information had been passed along to the previous executive director, so I don't know where the communication fell, because I know they've been contacting my office, and so.
Nobody contacted us though. We did have it in our budget. I don't know if I'm supposed to talk, but nobody contacted us for any money or donation. We did set that aside in our budget last year, as we did this year.
Okay. And then the other thing that's on there, I don't think necessarily needs to come out of the STAT budget, but we no longer give, because we give all of our money to STAT, we no longer give to the Conventions Bureau, the Gwinnett County Conventions Bureau. In order to be a member of the Gwinnett County Conventions Bureau, I think it's 2% of your hotel motel, and I don't know how much we make each year in a hotel motel, but each city has to give 2% of that to them to be a member. Right now, Snellville is the only city in Gwinnett County that's not a member of the Gwinnett County Conventions Bureau. Because of that, La Quinta Inn doesn't get advertising. I know our art commission asked to be placed in some publications. I know some other events have contacted them to see if we could be on their website, and we've been refused because we're not a member any longer. So I'd like to see, I don't necessarily want to take the money away from STAT, but I'd like to see if there's a way. I raised the issue with Lisa Anders, who's the executive director of the Conventions Bureau. Do we have to give them hotel motel money, or can we just make a donation of the equivalent from our city budget? She didn't know the answer. She's supposed to be getting back with that. So if it has to be hotel motel, I'd like to maybe work that out where we give STAT, we give STAT both hotel motel money plus money from the general fund. So, we can work it out through STAT, but I think it would be beneficial to us. I think we're losing some services by not having that membership. So I think in the upcoming budget, it would be beneficial to the city to look at rejoining the Georgia Conventions Bureau.
Is it 2% of the hotel motel tax or 2% tax? It's a big difference.
2%
of the whole-
of whatever we collect. So if we collect $100,000, it's,
I think it's they want 2% tax.
that's
in
not
other
the way
words-
when I talked to Lisa, she didn't
Okay,
explain it
I
to
think
me.
we need to find that out. That's a very big difference. It's
Right.
2025.
Yeah, because when I talked to her, made it seem like it was an insignificant amount that we would be
That'd be
donating, but
great,
I'll,
that.
I'll double check.
2% of $90,000, if that's roughly what it is, $1,800.
Right,
Right,
but if it's
But if it's,
2% tax.
and how long have we not been a member?
Just in the
just
tax.
the last
When
2
was-
years or 3 years.
Just when somebody started staff.
Oh.
But we used to sell it, that's what I was saying, back then, they got,
They got everything.
yeah, we got back maybe $10,000 and they got everything.
Well, no, I think they only got like 25 or 30,000, and the rest of the money was just sitting in the hotel motel fund.
No, I don't think so.
Did they get all of
They
it?
got everything except for Snellville days and the Deep South Classic.
good bit.
We get several days, they gave 10,000,
Yeah,
5,000 to the.
before any commitment, we want to
Yeah,
make
you know that.
darn sure to nail that down, and again, if it's
That was one of the
matter
reasons
of
for us
18.
To go to staff.
But
To keep that
even
money
at
in the
$1,800, is it a value for us to do it? I don't know.
Probably for 18,000.
Right, okay.
All right, street sign inventory from Clark Patterson Lee, Councilman Kraus.
I'll turn the floor over to Gay.
Okay. Basically, as most of you know, we have gotten 2 tablets, and we have been downloading our stormwater projects and trying to create information to where we can turn in our reports to the state electronically, and eventually build where we can have a layered system where we see our stormwater projects, our streets, and this would include signage. Right now, of course, we do not have enough staff to go out and with a GIS and locate every sign, critique it, create a shape file. And so what Clark Patterson Lee has done for other cities is gone in and they've done all this, and then it can be downloaded. And so we can maintain our signs, know when they were updated or swapped out, and if anybody asks, we would know exactly how many, and keep track of whether there is vandalism in a certain area, more so than others, and that type of thing. So what Butch had asked me to do was just kind of give you the information and let you think about if this was something that we could get done. This year, we're not going to be using all of our consultant money because of the fact that we could not do as many projects as we had anticipated, and we don't need the engineering on projects. We used that on a couple of projects that rolled over from DAS that y'all are aware of, and then some of the money, went to Lake and that type thing. So with money that we've already got budgeted in this year's budget, we could do the sign inventory, and Clark Patterson could do it, and then we could download it, and it would be an overlay already ready. So basically, that's the information, and just food for thought.
Do you have a
And
cost?
yes, they can either do it on a hourly rate, and they have given us all their hourly rates, and I can get this to y'all so you can actually look over it, or as a lump sum of $14,000.
Now, define signs.
Every sign in Snellville, your street signs, your stop signs, everything.
Model
Street
signs.
signs, every uniform traffic control sign is on a city maintained street.
City maintained street.
Yes.
Right.
So it would be only the city maintained streets, and in that way, we could create a GIS layer that would basically just go from our stormwater, roads, signs, signage, and we could have everything from, that we're responsible for on city maintained streets.
Can you send us those prices in an email or something? Any other questions? With that, upon motion of
We did.
Councilman Witt, seconded by Councilman Manuel, we'll go in exec session for the purpose of